Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everybody. I would like to call to order the Newcastle Community Activities Commission special meeting of March 29th, 2023. The time is 7 p.m. and this public meeting is being recorded and may be viewed later on the city's YouTube channel. Let's please all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Paul, would you like to do roll call?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Van Atta.
Present.
Commissioner Polson.
Present.
Commissioner D'Souza. Commissioner George.
Present.
Commissioner Flash. Let's see, and Vice Chair Sticks.
Present.
Okay, and of course, Patty Majors is still technically the chair, but she's not present tonight, so I'll just note that for the record, and that means that you have 6 commissioners present and accounted for.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the agenda approval. So is there any objection to approval of tonight's agenda as presented? Okay, if not, please show the final agenda approval as presented. And approval of minutes. Is there any objection to approval of the minutes of the March 8th as presented? If not, please show the minutes approved as presented. Paul, do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay. Moving right along. Commissioner comments and celebrations. Commissioner Van Atta, would you like to start?
Sure. I had the opportunity to attend the Newcastle Trails annual meeting last night, and it was so lovely to see fellow commissioners, city staff, present at the meeting to hear about the trails and other actions that are happening around our city. It always makes me feel very proud and happy to live here in such a beautiful place where it's so easy to get outside.
I actually don't have anything tonight, so I just want to wish you all a happy spring and hope you enjoy this beautiful weather.
Same here. Happy spring. No other comments.
Ditto. No comments here. Just enjoying the happy spring and lovely weather.
I guess the pressure's on me. Happy spring, everybody, because that was pretty much what I was going to say as is. So we're all good. Thanks.
Well, I'm certainly not going to buck the trend. So happy spring, and hard to believe that it's almost April. And on the news tonight, they were talking about April showers. So hopefully with some sunshine. Okay, let's do some reports. Alexa, Events and Recreation Coordinator report.
All right. Let me know if anything comes out unclear or if I need to repeat anything, because you never know with technology. So I will be out next week on medical leave. In case you didn't know, I hurt my knee. That's why I'm not there tonight. So I'm getting surgery on Tuesday, and I'll be out hopefully just for next week, but I'll be in touch if I need to be out longer for any reason. The opening for our commissioner position was extended through April 14th. So if you know anyone, feel free to pass that along. And then one other item, on the council meeting for Tuesday, April 4th, we're going to have a volunteer appreciation proclamation. So I'd love for you all to attend if you're able to. It's going to be just in the council chambers at 7. But it was really important for the mayor that we recognize National Volunteer Week, and we would love to recognize you all. So please join us if you are able to. And that is all my updates.
Thank you. Ed, do you want to do an art council update?
Gladly, yes. So a couple events we had in the last month. We had a basic ballet for adults, and we had a create your own journal activity at the library. Both those were at the library. Looking forward, and of course the Newcastle Youth Art Exhibition is still up at the library. It closes on Friday, and as usual, we've had a great response with people attending and people making comments and so on and so forth. April 11th, we're doing an origami spring flowers workshop also at the library. April 22nd, we're doing a watercolor event at the library. And then we have a couple of fundraisers coming up. So I actually have a flyer for the one that's coming up in April that I will hand out to everyone. We're going to Tapatio's. And the way I look at it, it's a win-win-win situation for everyone. So if you go, you get a great meal. A portion of the proceeds from that day go to support the Arts Council. And we're also supporting a local business, so which we definitely want to be doing. We're making Mother's Day cards on May 6th. We're doing a fundraiser at Mod Pizza on May 21st. We are refreshing our rock garden at City Hall on June 3rd. And I just walked by there and took some pictures, and it definitely needs a refresh. So come by and help contribute to that. Another event that I'm super excited about, I think possibly some of you participated a few years ago, but the library hosted a murder mystery party, and we're bringing it back. It was a huge success the last time. Lots of people participated, and so we're bringing that back on June 16th. Limited people can attend, and the registration will start around, I think, May 20th. So be on the lookout for that. We're doing a fundraiser at Frosty Barrel on July 13th. And then our art walk is July 15th. So we just released the application. We already had one come in. So if you know any artists, you can go out to our website to pull that down and submit an application to be there. And we also will be soliciting for volunteers for that too. So, and that's all the events that are going on with the Arts Council.
Thank you, Ed. Amy, Chamber?
Well, that's a hard act to follow. Only one announcement, and it's a reminder that the Newcastle Annual Diamond Awards is on Thursday, April 20th at the Stanhead Cultural Center at Aegis Gordon's. It's, for those of you who don't know, it's an event that honors volunteerism and leadership in the community and service and businesses in the community. The early bird tickets are on sale through Friday, April 14th on the website, newcastle-chamber.org. And there's a member and a non-member pricing there, and it includes a buffet dinner. So definitely, think about going. It's a lot of fun to honor the businesses and people in our community.
Thank you. I have a quick update on the neighborhood group. So we're at, the last map I saw of Newcastle, we're at about 101 neighborhoods, condos, apartments, and townhomes. So the map has 101 unique names. Currently, we have 29 reps that I have names and emails for. And I sent out an email a couple weeks ago, and we had 19 people respond. So we have a huge opportunity to grow and attract. I will be working with Alexa and Kate on some strategies and communications on different things that we can do to grow our membership, because we have a huge opportunity to get the names of people both for different city organizations and projects and volunteer one-offs meetings with the homeowners to listen to their concerns, safety being one of the biggest in our homeowners association. So big opportunity there. Next on our agenda, city clerk announcements.
Hey,
Paul?
Nathan, can you give us a list of those by the neighborhoods you don't have?
Sure.
So that if we know people in those neighborhoods, we can direct them to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Chair, Acting Chair 6, yes. I just have a couple of announcements for the commission. The first is that it's time, or actually it's a little past time, for us to update the 2023 contact roster. That's just a private list that we use to maintain contacts with you. So I have a copy of it with me tonight. If you could stop by and take a look and make sure that there's nothing on here that you need to update before you leave tonight, that would be very much appreciated. Sometimes people's numbers change, or email addresses, etc. And then I can get that updated, and if you I can distribute a paper copy of that to commissioners once it's updated. The second thing is I wanted to just remind everyone that we have 3 positions that have terms that technically expire this year at the end of June. And so please be thinking about whether or not you intend to continue on, if you want to be reappointed to that position. And those positions are Commissioner D'Souza in position 7, Commissioner George in position 8, and Commissioner Flash in position 9. So the 3 at the end of the row there. And it's very common for people to, and very easy actually, for reappointments to be done. But if we have to go out and do another recruitment like the one we're doing right now, I'd kind of like to know about it before we get that close to June. And we have no April meeting, so May is probably a good time to be thinking about that sort of thing. That's all I had for you all tonight. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Okay, Earth Day event planning. Shelley.
Thank you. Okay, so Earth Day planning is underway, and Debbie and I got together last month to talk about what we wanted to do, and we decided instead of doing a one-day event on the 22nd, we would make it a whole month of smaller events, not necessarily in person, but online. And we had come up with about 4 or 5 different stewardships. One would be adopt a drain, composting, the third one recycling, which I'm hoping Alexa will let us incorporate the spring recycling event into our Earth Day planning. Planting a tree, which Debbie can speak to that about, and emission reductions. The thing that I wanted to discuss today is the emission reductions. I spoke to someone at myworka.com, and they thought it would be, we all thought it would be a good idea to promote public transportation. So I was thinking about something like the city would pay for 100 Orca cards. So each Orca card is $3. I was thinking we could have like the first 100 residents of Newcastle pick up a free Orca card. Orca cards for youth are free, so we were going to do 100 of those as well. And then try to encourage everyone to take the public bus right here outside of City Hall to a trail on one of the days, on a Saturday or a Sunday. And we were going to try to set up a scavenger hunt at the trail and just try to really push public transportation. What do you think about that?
Sounds fabulous.
Any,
It gets people involved.
yeah. Any suggestions, changes?
Just wanted to chime in, the cards are ordered, so we
Oh,
have the
thank
adult
you.
cards coming. I couldn't find the youth cards on that link that you sent me, but I will take another look and just make sure they weren't hiding somewhere, but the adult cards are ordered, so.
Okay, thank you. And then I can always call back and see if they can order the youth cards for us.
Okay.
They said they could ship it all together.
Oh, perfect, yeah. Yeah, just let me know. For some reason, I couldn't see those on there, but like I said, I might just be missing it, so.
Thank you.
Thoughts to how we would promote it?
I wanted to do a booth at the city on a Saturday for 2 to 3 hours, but then Debbie and I were thinking maybe we could just have people come pick up the Orca cards, in a 2-week span at the city, and then have the actual event on a day and just say, come and ride the bus. And then we'll give everyone the bus information, like bus number, I think it's 240. Take it to this trailhead and do a scavenger hunt and then come back and you can get a prize.
So to communicate it out would be social media,
Social media.
the newsletter.
Yeah.
What's involved in organizing the scavenger hunt? Is it prizes or is it just?
It's just a sheet that we would hand out with the Orca cards when they come to pick it up, saying find something blue, find something yellow, find this particular flower, and then they'd bring back the sheet, and then I need some some ideas for prizes. I was thinking seed bombs and things like that. Yeah.
Well, we might be able to call on some local businesses to get some gift cards.
Yeah, so and I will reach out to Newcastle
Yeah.
Farmers Market and find out.
Well, and I know that Newcastle Fruit Stand, Dave loves to promote his business in different ways. So he might have some ideas too, free potted plant or, something that could be fun.
Yeah, that would be something cute and small. Yeah.
So is there like a marketing plan to kind of tie all 5 of these things in together? I know you said Debbie, but I think you met with Amy, right?
No, Debbie.
Oh, Davi. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. So is there like a marketing plan to tie these all in and try to make them consistent?
So I have a flyer made that has all 5 things written on it
Cool.
with a brief sort of just synopsis of what the day, the time, and what we're gonna do. And then I need to get with Davi, Kate, and Alexa on how to actually get the details
Okay.
out.
Oh, sorry. Okay, cool. If you need any help with that marketing,
Oh,
stuff,
yes.
definitely let me know.
Yes, thank you.
Good job.
Yeah, great job.
Very exciting. Something new we've never done
I'm
before.
excited.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick question. What help do you need from the commissioners besides supporting the promotion and some more supporting the events?
I need a lot of help. But I think Debbie and I got it covered. Alexa's been on board and Kate's helping with the flyer and I will reach out to you for marketing. And then I think Debbie and I are going to go walk the trails maybe and make up the scavenger hunt. And then just any other ideas, I'll reach out. Thank you.
I'm a trail walker if you need help.
Okay. Maybe we can all go. Everyone can go.
Okay, good job, Shally. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Parks Capital Improvement Project.
Okay, so I have a presentation for you all. Hello there, my name is Davi, Parks and Trails Planner. I am going to take Alexa off the screen and start sharing this presentation. Hope that's no problem.
Can you open up the Zoom?
right there. Share screen.
Actually, we're.
Nathan, can I ask a question while you're doing that? What's the status of the parks inventory? It's not on the agenda, so I just don't know where we left that.
We'll have to ask Davi.
Okay.
Okay, so park inventory was mentioned. We can definitely talk about that towards the end if it helps. But just as a heads up, so I'm only going to cover capital projects, basically what's in the budget. If there's questions about development projects that relate to parks and trails, we can talk about that as well, but I won't be going into detail with the presentation. So it's just what's in the budget, just capital projects. So we'll jump right in. Parks. Okay, so a lot of what is guiding my work plan for the year and subsequent years is really informed heavily by this 20-year capital facility program summary that you see before you. And this is published with the comprehensive plan. We're set to update the comprehensive plan, as you all know. So there's opportunities to start updating priorities as we get ready to also update the 6-year forecast for capital projects. So just a heads up there. So a lot of the projects that you'll hear about are really on the high priority list here and are basically what I've been focusing on since my time getting started here with my position. So as of the adopted 2023 budget, you will see that there are a number of project numbers at the bottom. It starts with P004, General Parks Improvements. We have dedicated a, let me make sure I'm looking at that right. We have dedicated budget of $25,000. We have a Trails Development budget of $35,000. P22 Lake Bourne Park project, 1.3 set aside for that project, that boardwalk. Really excited to share some updates there. And then finally, the P28 Lake Bourne fishing dock repairs. We have 60,000 set aside. So these are the projects I'll be focusing on. And obviously, if there are other projects that you all want to talk about that are not here, we can save that for the end. Excellent. Okay. So this P004 General Park Improvements is a really just kind of easy way for us to identify key projects that can be in this budget and in future budgets labeled as P004. Basically, the goal here is to identify major long-range improvements that could be made at various parks without specifically calling out one. So it just makes it really easy to name in the budget. For this year, we were hoping to focus on Hazelwood Park Boardwalk. From conversations with engineers and really trying to scope this out more thoroughly, we realized that there needs to be a separate project set aside for something like this to do a complete replacement as opposed to spot repairs, because just kind of from our conversation with engineers, they recommended that we do a replacement just because there is so many different conditions that are failing, and it might make a lot more sense to set aside a separate amount in the budget to go through a full range design and full range construction for this project. So just wanted to kind of be open about that. So in general, we have 25,000 set aside for other repairs that may come up during the park inventory process that we may be able to focus on. One possible item that may be covered here or in the maintenance budget is this landscape maintenance plan for the cemetery. I'll talk a little bit more about it when I get to that project number, but we do want to set aside goal and vision for how we're maintaining the landscape at the cemetery, especially with the volunteers that help clean up the cemetery pretty frequently. So that's a really key goal. So in general, we have this fund set aside, and we'll identify priorities based on the chart that I showed earlier, and then also based on what comes up during the park inventory in the next couple of months. And so the next piece, the next budgeted line item for capital improvements are improving the trail signs that we have all over the city. There's some places that trail signs or trail bollards are non-existent or broken. So Julie has, our previous Parks and Trails planner has been contracted by the city to take on a lot of this work. So it's in her court to really lead this effort, identify where signs need to be replaced, where signs need to be updated if they're incorrect, and make sure that they're all standardized as much as possible, and kind of address this. So all of this is basically covering trail bollard replacement, trail sign replacement all over the city. An additional effort that I did want to call out, which is in the works with Newcastle Trails, is that there is some preliminary volunteer projects that we may work on. There's a work party that we want to schedule sometime in June to do some work at the horse trail to open up that that trail to make it more apparent and visible so that it's usable. I think there's a path that's really small at the moment, and so there's an opportunity there to just call out the efforts that have happened there with the May Creek assemblage, with the roundabout that just came in, to point people to the horse trail entrance that's there. So in general, that would be a phased out project, which would be a combination of Boy Scout efforts and Boy Scout projects alongside city-sponsored and Newcastle Trails collaborated work parties. So really excited about that. Just wanted to call that out. The next one on my list is the cemetery fence replacement, P12. So we recently received funding from two different sources. The Department of Architectural and Historic Preservation provided a grant of $14,000, and Department of Commerce, or our legislative request, provided a grant of up to $72,000 to replace a portion of the cemetery fence. We basically want to remove the chain link that's there and replace it with something that just shows more reverence to the folks that are buried there and really call attention to this really important historic landmark that's in the city. So that's something that we have on the docket for this year. Really excited about that one. In general, we have started doing a survey there just to make sure we know what we're working with, where we want to put an additional pedestrian entrance aside from this larger 12-foot gate that we have already. And yeah, that's a really exciting effort, and really focusing on just working closely with Newcastle Historical Society to make sure that their vision of what this can look like is implemented into the decisions of what this fence is. And obviously, we'll also lean on you all and your expertise and interest when it makes sense and when we are ready to make some decisions about the type of fence that goes here. So another one, which I'm very, very excited about here, is the implementation of the Lake Bourne Park Master Plan. Specifically, this next phase that we're working on is the boardwalk. We have $1.3 million set aside and a $500,000 park levy grant from King County to pursue this work. We formally have a call for bids for contractors that's going to close on April 6th. So once April 6th comes around, we'll know what companies want to build this for us. And so really hoping in the summer we can get started, we can break ground and get that boardwalk just under construction. So really, really eager to get this started, and it can come sooner, but yeah. And just to step back really quickly, there's this P22 is dedicated to the master plan implementation as a whole. And so some of the things on my list have been also just applying to grants for future phases. I did want to call out that the amphitheater in Newcastle Plaza is a future phase, as well as the off-leash dog park is a future phase that's been identified as a really high priority. And so this purple area, we just submitted a grant in the middle of March to King County for funds to pursue this Newcastle Plaza and amphitheater. So really excited about that. And just to rehab the stage and look for something that's more permanent that can really support the annual events and the recurring events at Lake Bourne Park.
Doug, you have a question?
Yeah.
Back one slide. So the top left, that circle off Southeast 84th,
Yes.
what is that?
So the top left, the yellow circle, that was identified as one potential off-leash dog park area. Right now it's covered in blackberry. It's kind of on the high side of the park, and there are a ton of trees there. So I think in 2016, they looked at that as a potential option for the off-leash dog park. And another option for the off-leash dog park was closer to Coal Creek Parkway at the bottom. So those two yellow circles are what was identified as off-leash dog parks.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So you said the amphitheater is scheduled for next year.
Yeah, so it's scheduled for future years, depending on grant funding and whether it's
Okay.
approved. So really the goal is to continue to look for grants from here on out, and hoping to start design as early as late next year potentially, or early 2025, depending on decisions.
So, I just wanted to make sure that
Yeah.
if we, when we did start it, we did as much as possible not to interfere with like the summer concerts and Newcastle Days.
Yeah, totally agree. There's definitely a lot of time for planning and making sure that the impacts are as minimal as possible, for sure. Thank you. Before I move on, any other questions here?
Yeah, what constitutes a capital project versus maintenance?
The main thing is that capital projects are long-term changes that don't happen on a recurring basis. So maintenance is something that you have to replace pretty frequently. For example, irrigation heads or something that would fall under maintenance, as opposed to a full overhaul of an irrigation system with a updated irrigation controller. That would be something like a capital project. So the idea is that capital projects would last a longer time without a future investment.
So it doesn't necessarily need to be tied to a dollar amount, it's more of a time frame.
Exactly,
Okay.
yeah. It's less of a dollar amount, more of a time frame.
My understanding is that even if there's not a dollar amount, it needs to be documented somewhere so that then you can go seek grants. Am I correct?
So a lot of the capital projects that are going to be scheduled would be found in the comprehensive plan. So oftentimes that's where we pull like any future planning ideas and future kind of planning efforts based on the comprehensive plan, yeah. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Yeah. Excellent. Okay, and P28 is the next project number. The Lake Bourne Dock rehabilitation, we know this dock needs a lot of love. As you can see from the photo, it sags to the right, it leans to the right. There's just some floating buoys that need to be replaced. And so at the moment, we're working with an engineer that can help us identify the specific materials that are needed to replace there. There's been a ton of studies in 2014 and 2016 prepared to just understand the extent of what needs to happen there. And so the engineers that we hope to bring on board will help us make sure we identify exactly what needs to be replaced, and then engage a contractor to actually pursue the work and do it for us. So the main concern here is replacing some of those floating mechanisms that help the dock go up, some anchors that are below the water, and that's a large part of what will help this just kind of be replenished. Obviously, there are some investments needed for the aesthetics and cosmetics of the dock. And so that'll be something that we kind of look for additional funding for in the future. But at the moment, we just want to make sure this is a working dock and it doesn't present any safety hazards.
So Debbie, what happens if the construction cost is more than $25,000, so you exceed your budget? Does that get moved to next year? Or?
So that's a possibility. There were some funds set aside last year that weren't used for this project, and so as much as possible, we want to figure out whether or not it would carry over if we do exceed the construction budget. I mean, there may be a need to just find additional grants, basically, to offset the additional construction costs, but. That's definitely a concern, just because at the moment we didn't anticipate design to be as high as it is. So.
And is it a safety concern at this point?
The major safety concern is the failing dock, the failing float mechanisms at the edge. And I think aside from that, there hasn't been any other issues. But I think. As time progresses, if there's a major safety concern that we need to close the dock, I think we'd make that call. Okay. And then lastly, P27. You all may be familiar with the efforts around the DeLeo Wall conservation. You all may have heard, basically we ran into an unwilling seller, and so the city wasn't able to pursue or purchase this property. There was an application submitted for logging that was approved by the state, and there's been hearings related to this project that have just been unsuccessful in terms of moving forward or making sure that this site is preserved for trails in the future. So a very tough situation. We did find a lot of grants to potentially purchase this property, and so unfortunately, we're basically letting this project kind of fall to the side, and the city is no longer pursuing conservation at this property.
So essentially, we lose those grants? Is that?
That's right, yeah. A lot of the times the grants are reimbursement based, so if we don't spend them, they just expire, yeah. Okay, and happy to take any additional questions on maybe any projects that weren't shared here. Let me stop video from this side. But yeah, that wraps up the capital projects. Thanks so much for the time.
So Debbie, can you talk about the park inventory and where we're at with that project?
Yes, absolutely. And Alexa, I'll also lean on you if you can support me here. But so as I shared earlier this month, so the maintenance team has prepared their assessment of what needs to get done. So we have a sense from them what needs to get done. I think at the moment it's just a matter of figuring out whether we can schedule individual visits from the commissioners to key park sites. I have some recommendations on what parks we can focus on based on the different scales that they land in. And it's just a matter of getting it scheduled and getting you all out there. I do have kind of an Excel sheet that'll help us track our kind of input on what needs to happen, and just kind of guide us a little bit more on those 3 key things that we would like to highlight that the maintenance team did cover in their assessments. These were immediate improvements, long-term improvements, big vision ideas, and then something that may need to be budgeted for in the next couple of years to improve. So those are the 3 key things that we wanted to focus on in the inventory. But as far as scheduling goes, let me know where else I'm missing information, Alexa.
No, that's exactly what I was gonna say also. Would it be helpful if I put some dates maybe in the SharePoint for you all to maybe vote on, or we can do it individually, or what would be the best process for you all to get out there?
The doodle worked really well for this meeting, the one that City Clerk White sent out. So unless somebody thinks otherwise, that seemed to be a fairly good system from my point of view.
So are you first looking to ask for volunteers for various parks? Are you just going to go ahead and say, can these two commissioners go to this park and these two commissioners go to this park? And if you can get it done by these dates, would that be easier than, I'm just trying to avoid the whole, vote, wait, gather all the information. I mean, it sounds pretty simple. Like if you've got 5 priority parks and there's 6 of us right now.
Right.
And if you want a deadline of, I'm just going to say, let's say it's July 1st, and then we have between now and then to get to those parks.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the goal here is to hear as much input as possible as we get ready for the 6-year forecast for capital projects. Making sure I'm referencing the comprehensive plan projects listed for the 20-year forecast, and then making sure that your input is brought into that 6-year forecast as well. So I think July 1st is a really good deadline to aim for, and if we get your availability, I can assign you all to parks to go to, and if you all need to exchange as needed, I'm open to that as well. But
Right now, how many parks do you foresee us needing to go visit?
Alexa, I think I remember I sent it to you, but I think it was about 5 or 6, right?
That's what I think about 5 or 6. Let me try to pull
I think I know that there's recurring issues at a lot of our parks and repeating issues that we would probably see across the board for things like irrigation and for things like play equipment that may need to get refreshed. And so I think the key is to get as different of parks as possible and a cross section of parks so that we can get as differing opinions as possible.
Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud here. So I've never done this before, and as a commission, I'd love to see all of us show up at a park together, and we, those who have kind of the experts, can lead us through it. And I don't know how much time is needed per park, but I mean, 5, 6 parks seems very doable if it's a couple hours per park, depending upon what it is that we need to do. I'd love to see us as a group kind of hit these places together and share our information and what we're seeing.
When we went last time, it was just probably 20 minutes at each park. I mean, it's not a long period of time. I mean, some of the parks are pretty small.
Yeah, the ones I have listed as priorities from you, Debbie, are Lake Bourne Park, May Creek Open Space, Donegal Park, and Hazelwood Park. And then anything else that we can get to, I think, would just be a bonus.
That could be done in a weekend. What do you guys think? We're fine.
A couple of the larger ones in the city are there, so Lake Bourne's going to take more than 20 minutes. But Donegal's fairly big too.
It's just doing something collaborative when we're all together. We're kind of on a mission, and our ability to see things and share information with each other could be very valuable.
More collaborative.
City Clerk White, you may have a sense of how challenging it may or may not be because I think it would have to be noticed.
Oh.
If we all go versus dividing up into smaller groups that would not then create a
Sure,
quorum.
That is a good point, and I mean, we can do that. It's not a barrier necessarily. It would be one of these type of notices that you sometimes see, like when we did the ribbon cutting for May Creek Park Drive. We had a sort of, we sometimes call it precautionary notice or whatever. A quorum may be present, blah, blah, blah. at this place, on this day, at this time. It can be done. It is perhaps a little easier, a little more flexible if you break up into smaller groups, yes, but, depending on what you want to do, we can make it work. Noticing does take away flexibility, though. Okay.
So
Right.
could I recommend, I like the doodle idea of coming up with a variety of dates and times, and we can all look at our availability and go in and doodle it, and collectively, the city can then say, oh, look, we got a date here, and we can see it too. That's what I loved about doodles. I could see that this date was going to work for everybody, which was very convenient. What do you guys think about that? I think we can definitely, I was throwing out July 1st as just throw it out there, but I think we can get it done much sooner than that. The only caveat is it has to be a sunny, warm day.
Only rainy, cloudy days allowed.
So can we do a doodle?
So for for Alexa and Debbie's input, do you have enough information to be able to set up that doodle poll, or enough information to? I can help with that if you need it, but in terms of the length of times that are needed and.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about moving forward and getting
Yeah.
the doodle pull out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Debbie,
we
I
need
might
to-
just touch base with you tomorrow before I send out any polls or anything, just make sure we're on the same page. But yeah, I feel good on my end.
Sweet, perfect.
Okay, thank you, Debbie.
So I've got a couple more questions, if I could.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of new parks that are going up in the city over the next year or so. The Heemstra's shorter term, and then the Lee property is the longer term. Are there any funds coming from the city for either of those? And then on the Lee property, is the city going to manage that park? Because on the Heemstra property, I think it's the HOA that's doing it. So I just don't know how that's all going to work. Like I said, I'd like to inquire about that.
No, thanks so much for bringing that up. I think that's been a question I've been curious about as well. I'm not sure at what point the decision is made for the park to be turned over to an HOA and how long that happens, and at what point it gets turned over to the city. So I think that's something I have to clarify with Jeff before I give an answer. But let me confirm that and reach out to you all and just make sure I'm clear on at what point the city will take ownership of both the Baima property and the Heemstra Park. So I'm not exactly sure. But as far as funds coming from the city, that's all going to be funded by the developer for both projects.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for the time.
You're welcome, thank you. Okay, Alexa.
All right. Apologies in advance if you hear my dog barking. She just wants to join us, but not today. So, okay, so I have some information about fireworks of years past, and then any questions that you all have regarding moving forward, I'm happy to answer or get the information for. My goal is to have a motion to approve a fireworks display not to exceed $13,000. So hopefully we'll reach that consensus by the end of the night. But like I said, any questions you have, I'm happy to answer. So in 2019, our fireworks display cost $11,000. I believe it was just a large commercial show over Lake Boren. So the difference with this year's show would be in this price range would be allowing us to have a second layer of fireworks. So this, instead of just having the larger display over the lake, would also have a smaller second layer kind of below that seems more like your at-home fireworks. So it would just give us an extra layer of entertainment. Hopefully that makes sense. the gentleman who we've been working with to coordinate this has done our shows in the past. He is not the pyrotechnic, if I'm understanding right. I think he works with someone else to do it, and he basically will order the fireworks from overseas, have them shipped here, and then he'll walk through the parks and everything, work with us on our safety plans, and all that. So he's familiar with the area, which is good. And he said it's his favorite show every time. So he was excited that we're bringing it back. I did look into laser show a little bit. I think it would be, from what I've seen at least, I think it would be more expensive. It seems like those are kind of based on crowd size. So the ones that I saw were closer to the 15,000 and up range. So yeah, it is an option, but it's a little bit more expensive. And then one other item to keep in mind also that I believe has been done in years past. There's ways to do mid-show fundraisers essentially. So what I noticed that they did in 2019 was to, they basically raised money to have someone fire off the first shot. It's just like a cartoon looking plunger basically. But they'll coordinate the timing between whoever gets that and starting the first fireworks. So it's just a fun little way to get some extra money and get people involved. And there are other little things to do like that. I'm happy to brainstorm some extra ideas if that's a route we wanted to go. But yeah, that's the background of it. Does anyone have any questions or concerns or anything like that regarding the fireworks, or anything else I can kind of clarify before moving forward?
Well, I think that's what we were hoping to get tonight, was a little more explanation and I guess the foundation that there is a company that will actually do it for us and give us the confidence that we're going to get the show to go. So
I had a quick question on the second
as much as I would love to light off fireworks, I don't think that would be allowed.
I had a quick question on the second layer. Last time in 2019, if I remember from where I was standing, because of the trees, you could sometimes not even see the first layer. So if we got a lower second layer, are we going to be, is it going to be visible to the people in the park?
It should be. Let me just touch base with the gentleman and make sure that, make sure that it's all going to be visible, but I believe so from what I've seen. Obviously I wasn't there, unfortunately. I wish I could have seen it before, but from what I understand, it should all be visible.
Okay, because where I was standing was over by the, where we hang the posters and stuff. And right there, even at the high level, it wasn't.
Okay. Good to know. Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, I will, whatever we do, I'll make sure that it's going to be the most visible for the most amount of people. But yeah, hopefully that would add another little thing for people to be able to see, hopefully.
Well, Alexa, in 2019, the fireworks were biodegradable, or whatever the term is. The material they used for the fireworks, a lot of it just disintegrates. It gets wet. It just, what am I trying to?
Paper everywhere. Doesn't put paper everywhere.
Correct. It won't create pollution. It's more economic. It's more ecological.
Gotcha.
Can you verify with the gentleman you're working with that would also be true this year? Because that's important to people to know that we're not going to add pollution, and except for the smoke, of course. But
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I will. Hopefully, since it's the same guy, he will not change things too much. But yeah, I'll definitely double check on that because that's something that I would like as well. So yeah, hopefully
well, I remember this very well because people were walking the park weeks after the 4th of July, and they were complaining about all the debris that was left, and the answers that kept coming back were, this is supposed to be it's supposed to be this way. It will eventually just disintegrate.
Gotcha.
It's friendly stuff. Okay. So are we looking for a motion?
I would love a motion.
Go ahead, Amy.
Unless there are any other questions, like I said.
I think Amy has a question.
Alexa, you've already met with the police department? Because I know one
Yes.
reason last year we opted not to go ahead with fireworks, based on our feedback to the city manager was safety concerns. So you've
Right.
already met with Chief Cajahiro and he is comfortable?
Yes, they are comfortable. They're working to get officers for overtime for that day. So hopefully we'll have a good officer presence. Let me just grab my notes actually. They're working on a safety plan also for the event. And then after we get this approval, I'm planning on meeting with them and Scott and Jeff and hopefully the fire department to just make sure we're all on track. And then we actually have another meeting scheduled, I believe, early in May to touch base again, just to make sure the ball's rolling in the right direction.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's make this official. Do we have a motion to approve the fireworks?
I make a motion that we approve the fireworks for $13,000 for the summer.
Second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye. Passed unanimously.
Does the 13,000, does that include tax or is that pre-tax?
I believe that is including tax. I will double check though. I believe that would be the full contract amount.
Do we want to amend the motion just to make sure we don't run into issues? If it doesn't include tax?
I don't think we need to. I think the fact that we approved a $13,000 budget, we live within that $13,000 budget, which that would have to include tax. Yeah. Okay.
I will get I will touch base with the gentleman tomorrow and let you all know what extra information I find out just to clear everything up.
Terrific. You want to go into the bands now for the 4th?
Yes. So I guess this doesn't need to be a huge discussion, but just wanted to put on your radar that we can have a band for the 4th of July as well. In 2019, the band was Soul Siren. I'm not sure if anyone is familiar with them or if they thought it was a success or anything. So just wanted to put that on your radar. I'm not sure if the process for the 4th of July band would be the same or similar to Newcastle days. Deb and Kim, if you're already looking at the bands, if you wanted to pick out one for the 4th as well for me to contact. But just something to keep on everyone's radar.
What's our budget for the 4th band?
For the 4th band, I believe it is the same 1,500, but I'll double check.
Okay.
Sure.
There's a band on the list. I think I sent it to you yesterday. I think it's one that you had recommended that you saw in Sammamish, Ridley. They might be really good because they seem to have a lot of energy for the 4th.
Okay, yeah. You mean Randy Lindner?
Let me look at my list and I'll email you tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah,
that
yeah,
might be
totally.
it. That might be it.
Whichever you think would be a good fit. I know that the 4th is always a little bit of a different energy than other events. So yeah, I'm happy to reach out to whoever.
Okay.
And Alexa, are we going to include food trucks?
I would like to. What do you all think?
Yes, please.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Done.
Hot dogs, hamburgers, and caramel corn.
And snow
Gotcha.
cones.
Yeah, it was really easy with the company that Kate started working with last year. So I will probably just reach out to her again, and see who we can get to come over.
Okay, thank you.
If allowed, I'm sure the Arts Council would like to have a booth there and sell
I think we
snacks.
can arrange that, Ed.
Snacks items, so
We could even have a booth for the city and the
Yeah.
commission. As long as it's festival seating for the fireworks,
Yeah.
comfortable couches.
A lounge area. I'm with
Exactly.
ya.
Okay, thank you, Alexa.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So 2023 strategic plan implementation. I made copies of our strategic work plan. We were talking at our sponsorship working session, Amy, Ed, and I, and one of the things that I think we're all anxious to do is make sure that we're actually doing some of the things that we had submitted as our work plan for the year. How we want to go about going through this, I am not 100% sure. I don't think we want to take the time to read through it page by page, line by line, but if we could start to identify maybe the top things that either we are currently working on or need to be working on, it would be great to keep moving forward with this. And whether that's something we should be reviewing at every commission meeting is up for discussion. So I just want to bring it up for discussion.
So I'll start with strategic direction number 1, since that was Patty's and mine. One really easy low-hanging fruit we have is name tags. I know 2 of us are new commissioners, and it would be great if we had name tags. I know I hear from, Kim went to the Newcastle Trails meeting, and so I know we're making an effort to be visible presences. But I know at least for Shali and I, we don't have those official city name tags.
I would say yes, and business cards. We should all have business cards. We're all in the face of the community, and it's great when you're out working with different meetings. And last night, Kim and I were at the trails, and I was able to actually give out my business card to a few people. So, I mean, it's a very professional way of promoting who we are. And I don't think they're very expensive. I'm looking at City Clerk White for a reaction, but
You can get a couple hundred for less than $20.
well, and I know a few years ago, I believe it was Wendy ordered just generic cards, but I really think we should all have cards with our names on them. So
I believe so. I have information from Kelly from. I asked her in January about it, so I will work with Katie at the front desk to get those ordered. Is it just Shali and Amy that need name tags? Does anyone else need a name tag?
I do.
Okay,
Full disclosure,
Ed?
I can't find the one that I was given years ago. So
gotcha.
I will take accountability for that.
They're little. It's
And-
okay.
business cards, who needs business cards?
I will take them.
I will. I think all of us do, don't we?
I have some. Yep, So
I'm
Deb,
not sure
Shally,
if I can
Amy,
get
and Ed.
business cards with everyone's names, but I can at least get generic ones, or I'll see what we can get. And yeah, I'll just plan on everyone for cards.
Perfect. Well, that's strategic direction number 1. Success. Strategic direction number 2. Is that yours, Kim? So maybe at each meeting we just pick something that's in our list and say, this is what we're going to do this month, or this is something we've done. We can say, check.
Yeah, I would say it would be interesting to spend some time at meetings, kind of maybe spitballing on some of these things, right? Like, okay, we've got a big idea here. What would that look like? You know, is there one on here that resonates with someone and we think we could do in the next month, and what would it be?
This is not my idea. This is from Shali. I see engage the teen community. This may be overcomplicating things, but the parks inventory seems like a great opportunity to almost crowdsource information on our parks using teens. And I know we do hope to re-engage the youth council or the youth group. But maybe as a precursor, you know, tap into some of those volunteers from the volunteer event that at the library, if there are particularly teens or just any volunteers, to give them a checklist and have them do parks inventory as well. It engages them and it gives us more information.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's Charlie's.
Well, I think I'd love to see us get NICE back in place, and that gives us a place to start to then get them to help us get the volunteers. Because that was a big benefit with the group that we had in 2019, is they were able to reach out to their high school friends and get us people to join us for activities. So maybe we can shoot for June, maybe May or June, because Alexa, you're going to be out for just a little bit, you know, getting recovery. But it would sure be great to get NICE like back in place before the summer. That way we can get some people to volunteer, bring them with us through the summertime and back into fall. So maybe we could shoot for a target of June of coming up with some candidates.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that process looks like. What did we do in the past?
Could we do just a special sign up, like a sign up genius for just that event, and put that out on social media and have like kids volunteer or to sign up?
So are we limited to 2? Is that what, I know that's what we had in the past. And is that?
So I think there were two different groups we're thinking of. There were 2 youth who were on the commission.
Right.
But then there was also a larger group that met one Wednesday, the last Wednesday of the month at the library, which planned its own activities, like the paw adoption thing. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, the NICE group. So I don't know if there's overlap between the 2 or whether they're separate.
I think our commissioner, the youth, you know, they weren't a commissioner, they were a youth representative, but they were members of NICE. That's how they were recruited for this, but yeah, they
So-
are separate entities.
Right, we do have on our subcommittees, which I also have copies for you. Under the reinstate NICE, we've got Alexa, Shally, and Amy. Is that still a plan? So the 3 of you will continue to work on that? Okay. Check and check. So maybe that's what we start with strategic direction number 2, is getting NICE reinstated.
Everything Ed's doing with the Arts Council already falls into that one as well.
Mhm. Well, and you know, the last bullet in your work plan is also about the like a walk of the month. We had so much fun in 2019 putting together a trail of the month, and that was pretty straightforward, not a hard activity. We just had to make sure that the trails were clear and safe to be out. But it was fun to shout out, this is the trail this month, you know, go out, take pictures, send them in. But we would need, Alexa, a little coordination, probably with Davi and Kate, because there's the communication element to it as well, to maybe promote those trails. But that would be another thing we could do. Which we don't really have that on our, like a subcommittee for. Do we want to add that? in our subcommittee list. Amy, it's a standalone document. So something to think about as we come up with these game plans. It would be nice to keep amending our subcommittee list to say, you know, here's who's working on what, and then at each of our meetings, we would come back and say, okay, are you ready to present this month some of the things that you're doing? Okay. Strategic Direction 3. So one of the things Ed, Amy, and I were talking about was the theme, selecting a theme. And we know that that was challenging to do. And in 2019, we actually were successful. 2020 was kind of a no-brainer because we, you know, defaulted to the pandemic. But in 2020, I think it was 2021 when we, or 2022, we're back, right? I would like us to come up with a theme, and just a simple theme of bringing happiness to people, bringing a smile to their face, and just with everything that's going on in the world, just what can we do as a commission with interacting with our community just to say, we want to bring a smile to your face, something that'll make you happy.
Did you guys come up with any or have any top contenders that we might just noodle on over the next week or so?
I did driving over here tonight. And it was a very simple live, love, smile. It made me just feel at peace and happy. What do you think? Corny?
I have 3 other ones
Yeah.
that the kids actually helped me come up with.
Great.
So it's in my other notebook, but I will email it to you.
Will we kind of keep it an email string going or something to come up with it, or do we have to wait until May to come up with it?
I can start an email string tomorrow with this.
think that would be fun.
if-
Email would be
if that
fine, I
works.
think. Did you want to share what they are now?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
So, riffing off the theme of sharing, you do have the SharePoint site, and you could put a list there that everyone
that would be
could
great.
contribute
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
as
great
well.
idea.
Then it's not in your email.
Well, I will start a document in SharePoint. Thank you for the reminder. With just theme of the year brainstorming. And feel free to add anything you guys think of.
Okay, so there's our 3 action items that we're working on. Thank you.
Hey, Nathan, can I go to talk about the first one on here?
Yeah.
Which was something I added onto the list, which was defining our Newcastle community. I think it would be good for the group just to, maybe we don't have to do it now, or just to come up with what we think our community is. Because that's going to lead into everything else, right? Are we doing everything that we possibly can, or to address the needs of our community? But if we don't even know what our community is to start off with, then how can we make sure that we're providing the right activities and the right process and the right
Great
things in
idea.
the community?
Love it. So Alexa, 2 documents in our SharePoint site, or 1 document. First, define our community, and everybody can go in and just say what you would like to say, and then define a theme. Everybody can go in and put some thoughts to
Perfect.
that. And then for our next meeting in May, we'll come back with that and discuss as a group and say, these are the, let's decide on one, and maybe we could even do, once everybody's in there, if we can have a deadline of, let's say, by May 1st, maybe, to go in and update those documents, then we can maybe do a doodle.
Perfect.
You're gonna have us addicted to this doodle thing, Paul. Go in and to doodle it, and, or even vote on the sheet. I don't know, whatever's easiest.
Yeah. Yeah, that works for me.
Ed, as the author of that action item, if you will, do you have any guidelines or thoughts on what you would be looking for?
So, I mean, I guess I look at it, there's different ways to look at community, right? You could be geographic, it could be who we serve. And so there's, you know, I think about people that come to Newcastle that, well, I'll give an example. I have a relative through marriage that works in Redmond, but drives down Coal Creek Parkway every day, pre-pandemic. His library was the Newcastle Library. His grocery store was the Newcastle grocery stores, but he didn't live in Newcastle. So is he part of our community, right? He's a stakeholder in what we do in Newcastle, but he doesn't necessarily live here. So I think we just need to be thinking about, are there people, are there organizations, are there entities, or things that may not necessarily be, you wouldn't think of that are naturally Newcastle, but maybe they are groups that, as we're doing things, we need to make sure that we're, thinking about in terms of the activities and things that we're planning. Like, I mean, Newcastle Days, right? I would suspect that at least 50% or more of the people that go to Newcastle Days don't live in Newcastle. But they have a connection to the community. So, that's kind of where I was headed.
Well, that helps me, because it's like Newcastle is a community that welcomes everybody.
Well, that's what I was just gonna ask, like, Newcastle is a community that, and then fill that out, and then another one is a Newcastle community member is, and fill that out? I mean, is that kind of what you're thinking? Or, like, a Newcastle person is the type of person who shops here, lives here, drives, I mean, is that kind of what you're looking for?
That's part of it, yes, that is definitely part of it. And again, I just wanted to make sure that we were not thinking of a very narrow definition of, who we're catering to, and that is those people that live in Newcastle, right? It goes way beyond that, and then you look at it and we have different demographics, different age groups that we need to cater to, different ethnicities that we need to cater to. And so it gets a lot more complicated when you expand the definition of that. Who is your community?
Maybe a good way to think about it is if you were to drive through Newcastle, but the first sign you said was like, "Welcome to Newcastle. What about Newcastle should I be welcome to?" Like, we welcome everybody. We welcome diverse groups. We welcome all nationalities. We welcome whatever.
Thanks, that's helpful.
Yeah, that's how I was thinking of it too. Newcastle is a community that blank, but I think it's a good broad brainstorming question for selecting the theme also. So that's a good way to tie the two together. I'm excited to see what you all say.
Not that I like to propose extra work, but this activity seems to me that it'd be a good working session that is also team building, particularly as we welcome a new member to the commission. I know the timing might be a little off, but it can be an ongoing conversation. But I'd like to be able to hash this out in person and build off of the energy and ideas of each other and spend some time getting to know each other and our new member.
Guess what I just signed you up for? I'd love to work with you on that.
I know that I would like some of our Bellevue and Renton neighbors to also participate in Newcastle stuff, because the kids at Hazelwood Elementary, half of them live in Bellevue, and half live in Renton, and then a third live in Newcastle, and Bellevue and Renton too. But the Bellevue and Renton parents don't necessarily come to the Newcastle events, and they don't even get our our promotion stuff on social media or our emails.
They could.
Yeah, I just don't know how to get it to them. They're like, oh no, we just do Bellevue stuff, or we just do Renton stuff.
So, well, with social media though, I mean, anybody can, right, get on there and hit like, and if you see it, you can also, I don't think we sign up for social media though, right? On Facebook, you don't sign up for the Newcastle page. Yeah. There are a lot of blanks still on here. This does live on SharePoint, so when you are out there, we do need to continue filling this out. The one thing that I will ask is Patty leaving us left a void in the volunteer kind of lead. You know, that was kind of like Patty's thing that she loved to work on. So we really need a lead on working on volunteer. So there's volunteers, there's also volunteer recognition, kind of two different things, but
Nathan, I'll take the volunteers under Newcastle Days, particularly with Alexa on board. The lifting for Newcastle Days is not the level it was even a year ago. And so I'd be happy to take on the volunteers, and two people is always better than one, and that'd be a great thing for the new person potentially, should there be interest.
okay, great. Anyone who wants to do the volunteer recognition? Thank you, Kim. Actually, Kim was number 2, so now Kim and Deb will take on. Thank you. And I think we can all help with that. Okay.
Nathan, I'll take volunteers with Amy.
Volunteers for 2?
Yeah.
That was a game show joke. Like a game show. I'll take volunteers
I'll take
for
volunteers
2.
for 2.
All right, well, that took care of 8.5 and 8.6, which then gets us through our agenda items. I did want to give you guys a quick Newcastle Days, 4th of July concerts, basically our sponsorship work effort. So Amy, Ed, and I and Alexa met 2 weeks ago, oh my gosh, just a week ago. And have gone through and updated all of our materials. Alexa's working on updating that. We went through and divided up all the businesses, so Amy, Ed, and I can hit the road running. I think we're up to a little over 100 businesses that we'll be reaching out to. And that work effort will probably start somewhere the second week in April. I believe, second, third week in April. So we're ahead of schedule at this point, and things are looking good. And so that's my update on our sponsorship work effort.
What's your goal this year do you have a goal for how much you want to raise?
Well, we're budgeting, so that's what is in the budget is $58,000 and change. Is that right, Alexa?
That sounds right. And we do have, I believe I told you this, Nathan. I'm not sure if I told everyone else, but we do have the waste management sponsorship to rely on also. I believe that's 15,000.
Well, that's included, right. Yep, that's already, so we take the 58 minus 15, and that gives us our goals from working down from there.
Go get it.
Okay. Paul, do we have any additional public comment? Okay. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up tonight? Art.
City Clerk, wait, is there kind of an estimated time on when assuming the commissioner, we have enough applications, when the new commissioner could possibly be on board? Are we looking at May or June?
That's an excellent question. Thank you. I believe the intent would be to have someone confirmed by an appointment confirmed by council by May 9th. I don't know if we would be able to turn around the interview process quickly enough to get that done any earlier than that, because that's a tight turnaround between the 14th, and the packet that would have to go out for the meeting of April 25th. So I'm going to say that confirmation will probably come on May 9th. And which probably puts your first regular meeting, having that person sworn in as the June meeting.
And I did talk to Kate today about more advertising for it. So today's the 28th, right? It went out March 18th, I believe, to show that it was extended to April 14th. Kate's going to send it out again next week via social media and the newsletter. And then I believe like a week before April 14th, she'll send it out again. And then we, as commissioners, can also share that Facebook post or even create one and then send it out to our folks, which I would recommend. We did get a candidate based on one of the posts I sent out, so my neighbor.
So just to keep you up to date, currently we have 2 new applications since the start of the vacancy announcement, and a couple of people who have been considered in the past who have also indicated an interest in being considered again, but 2 brand new applications at this point. So that's twice as many as we had the day that that the announcement closed the first time.
So that's 5 now we have. No, so the 3.
2 people who have applied in the past, who have asked to be considered again, and 2 completely new applications.
Oh, okay. I know of 3, but I don't know the 4th. Okay. So our next scheduled meeting is going to be May the 10th, because we all decided we could not make the April 12th meeting. And if there's nothing further, I didn't do this at the beginning, I will call the meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Alexa, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
And good luck with your surgery Tuesday. We'll be thinking about you.
Thank you. Yeah, good thoughts.